Look, building a business is tough. We all know that. But what if I told you there's one super common mistake that could literally cost you $100,000? Yeah, today we're going to dig into exactly what that mistake is and, way more importantly, how you can make sure you never have to pay that price. Okay, so let's start with something that sounds, well, just plain wrong. You can absolutely build a business without laying proper groundwork first. I can almost hear you thinking, wait, what? That's the worst advice ever. And yeah, you're not wrong to think that. But stick with me, because this right here, this is the seductive, tempting trap that so many entrepreneurs fall right into. And this is the tricky part. This is why it's so darn tempting. Because you see it, right? You see people doing it. They launch fast, they get those quick wins, money starts rolling in. On the surface, it looks like a rocket ship heading straight for the moon. It feels like they've cracked the code. But, as we're about to see, looks can be incredibly deceiving. So that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If you can actually make some real money doing things this way, why would anyone bother with all that slow, boring, foundational stuff? What's the catch? There's got to be a catch, right?
Well, here's the catch. $100,000. That is the price tag for learning this lesson the hard way. And trust me, that number, it represents a whole lot more than just cash.
And this isn't some business school theory. The person whose story we're following here, well, they paid that price. This is a lesson that was bought and paid for with a very real and very, very expensive failure. All right, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this $100,000 mistake. The story starts with a tech startup. And from the outside, man, it looked like it had everything going for it. But it was all built on sand. It was missing the one thing that really, truly mattered. And just look at how fast things can go south. 1 minute, you're on top of the world. You're living the startup dream, building features, feeling the buzz. Then the first cracks start to show up. You can't pay your developer. And then it gets personal. You're at the grocery store, just praying your card goes through. And just like that, it's all gone. $100,000, poof. So the big question is why? Why did it all fall apart? To really get this, we have to look at two things: the business mistakes and the personal cost. Because they're really two sides of the exact same pretty tragic coin. Okay, so check out these business failures. What's kind of shocking is how basic they are, right? No market validation. They just built something they thought was cool without checking if anyone would actually buy it. No clear brand positioning, so they were just another voice in the crowd. They were chasing every shiny new tech trend instead of having a solid strategy. I mean, this is the definition of building on sand. A textbook foundation-later disaster. And then there's this. This is the real gut punch. This isn't about numbers on a spreadsheet anymore. We're talking about constant stress on your relationships. We're talking about being so broke you can't afford gas money to go to brunch with your friends. That scared my card won't go through kind of expense. And then having to move back home at 28 to start all over again. That is the real price you pay. So when you look at this whole story, it really just comes down to a choice. There are two paths you can take, two totally different ways to build a business. So let's put them side by side, and you'll see just how different they really are. So first up, you've got the foundation-later path. And honestly, this is the one most people accidentally wander down. It feels great at the beginning. It's seductive. You're moving fast, you're building stuff. It feels like you're making a ton of progress. But the problem is, it's all reactive. You're not being strategic, and that means the whole thing is just fragile. It can break at any moment. This chart just nails it. Look at the difference. Your mindset. Are you just reacting to things, or are you being strategic? And what's the real goal here? Are you just trying to make money quick, or are you trying to build real wealth? The answers to those questions literally determine the outcome. You end up with something fragile and breakable, or something scalable and sustainable. It's that simple. And this is where we get to the bigger picture. Because really, this isn't just about avoiding a $100,000 mistake. It's about something more. It's about deciding, consciously, to build something that lasts, something with meaning, a legacy. Think about it like this. The foundation-later path? Yeah, it'll get you some customers. That's fine. But the foundation-first path? That gets you a brand people remember. Something they connect with, something they trust. That's a whole different ballgame. And let's talk money. The easy path might get you to 6 figures. Hey, not bad. But can you do it again next year and the year after that? The foundation-first approach, that's not just about a good year. That's about building real, generational wealth, something that outlasts you.
And finally, let's talk about your life. The foundation later path, it just gets you busy. You're always running, always putting out fires. It's a hamster wheel. The foundation first path, that gets you something sustainable, a business that can actually grow without you having to burn yourself out completely.
Okay. So we've heard the horror story, we get the theory, but what does this actually look like in practice? How do you start building on solid ground from day one? Let's make this super practical. It boils down to these 3 foundational steps, and the order here is absolutely crucial. First, you do market validation before you even think about product development. And I don't mean asking your mom if she likes your idea. I mean finding out if total strangers will open their wallets for it. Then, you build a brand strategy before you start messing with marketing tactics. A strategy isn't a logo, it's knowing who you are and what you stand for. And finally, you get clarity before you start executing. You have a real plan, so you're not just running around chasing shiny objects. This is it. This is the work. This is what stops you from losing that 100 grand.
And really, that's what this all comes down to. This is the whole point. We're talking about this stuff so that you don't have to go through it. Your dreams are way too important to cost you $100,000 just to figure out.
So let's circle back to where we started. Remember that first slide? Yeah, you absolutely can build a business without a foundation. But now that you've seen the true cost, not just the money, but the stress, the heartache, the whole mess, it leaves you with just one question, really. Why on earth would you ever want to?